The government is at it again, and of course, Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland want to destroy Canada's healthcare system on their way out. They want to make whatever government takes over's job that much harder when they change office. And of course, this video is going to be full of a bunch of hypocrites, a bunch of things going on that are very frustrating. And I found these two pieces of media side by side very interesting because the first one we're going to talk about is Senate spending. It's up huge. Their expenses are off the charts, and when we get into the numbers, I think you'll be surprised how much actually is being spent. And then on top of that, we have a video from Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland talking about how they're going to be punishing doctors. Yes, that's right. Doctors in Canada already only have so many ways to make money because of our private healthcare system, and they are being punished. Going to be devastating for our healthcare system long term. Let's get into today's video.
Well, a new report looking into the expenses of Canadian senators is certainly going to be raising some eyebrows today.
That's right. CTV National Scott Hurst, crunching the numbers this morning, joins us live. Good morning, Scott. So senator expenses up about 30%. The big question here, why?
Good morning, Courtney and Nick. Yeah, Senate expenses in the spotlight because, of course, these are taxpayer dollars. Ultimately, this boils down to your money. And so Canadians have a right to know how it is being spent. And it is up nearly 30% from the year before. 7.2 million spent on expenses in 2023, up from 5.6 million in 2020.
Not only is it our money, they're increasing taxes. So as they increase spending, they're increasing our taxes as well.
22, and here's how that 7.2 breaks down. 4 million for travel, 2.1 million for living expenses, 1 million for office expenses, and more than 100,000 in hospitality. Now, according to public policy experts, a lot of the spending boils down to the senator's role. Those in leadership typically at higher expenses. Geography, you notice that travel budget with higher travel costs on average from Western provinces and territories. Of course, travel from those farther ranging places is going to cost much more money to get back and forth to Ottawa. And public policy experts also point out that there were significantly more in-person Senate work weeks in 2023, which ultimately drove up costs. And so that is the breakdown.
Well, I mean, we have to assume that obviously, you know, they had less Senate work weeks before because of all the lockdowns and what was going on. But at the same time, like, if your job is in Ottawa, shouldn't you have to move to Ottawa? You know, and I get it, like, oh, no, we're from these provinces. Yeah, but during your time, it's like either one, allow them to vote from the provinces, or two, you have to relocate to Ottawa. Like, why would we pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per senator just to get them there? And I'm going to get into the numbers. So actually look at this. So I brought up, this is the individual senator spending for 2023. Look at this top number here. We got Scott Tanis, or Tanas, I don't know how to say it, but look at this. 235,734 just in expenses from one guy. Now, you'd think that a lot of it is obviously going to be travel, it's going to be hotels, it's going to be whatever. But there were some expenses on this list, not just from him, but in these senators in general, that included art rentals, not car rentals, art. They're renting art, you know, hosting events, doing all this stuff. It's like, it seemed like they were spending pretty aggressively. But then here's the other thing. I found out what their salaries are, and this is another staggering number because keep in mind, these people are not required to move. We're traveling and spending on our dime. So like these people who live in Manitoba, so let's go to their salary here. So here's the senator right here. Their salary, $178,000 for their salary. Now, keep in mind, if a senator is from Manitoba, how cheap is the cost of living in Manitoba? They get $178,000. They get to fly back and forth from Manitoba, so we're paying that for them to get there. It's like, so you're double dipping. And again, that's just the expenses, which is like, these numbers are wild. Look at this. The Conservative Party of Canada had the highest average senator spending by party affiliation. Worth noting because the Conservatives hopefully are most likely going to be the ones taking over next. So it would be nice to see them to be fiscally conservative. But I am more just blown away at this being the base salary and then this being the expenses that we're claiming. If you're making 180K a year, oh, by the way, that doesn't include vehicle allowance. That doesn't include a bunch of other perks that they get, which are all on this list here. So that 180 is just the base. So it's like, yeah, you have to move to Ottawa. I'm sorry. Like, that's just the way that it works. You can represent people from there. They have ways to contact you from Manitoba in Ottawa. So we're getting new taxes. Canadians are struggling, and then they make more money. Kind of frustrating. So let's finish this quick.
Of that 7.2 million. And when we break down the spending by senator, the top four who claimed the most ranged in an expense range from $181,000 to more than $235,000 claimed in expense.
Wild stuff. And here's why it's particularly wild. We're going to get into this next video with Trudeau and Freeland. They're talking, this was the new budget announcement about the new capital gains and what's been happening. And listening to Trudeau, one, not only give misinformation, talking about two different types of taxes and how people are making money, and doctors are going to leave. We're already struggling. Let's get into it.
Everyone, a clash between Canadian doctors and the federal government had Ottawa playing defense today after a major warning from the Canadian Medical Association. It says capital gains tax changes introduced in the 2024 federal budget will have adverse effects on physician recruitment and retention at a time when 6.5 million Canadians don't have access to a family doctor. A recent ranking put Canada last when compared to the number of adults in other developed countries who had access.
Guys, we're getting beat by France again. But like, how staggering is that we're last out of these developed countries, and we're becoming so much less competitive globally for recruiting doctors because, one, in America, they're just going to make the most. I understand not as many people want to move to America for other reasons, but from like an actual like earning potential, you're going to make the most there.
Access to a primary healthcare provider. CTV's Michael Couture leads us off with the financial plea and the response.
Family Doctors is really kind of the smallest of the small businesses out there.
Dr. Ali Khan Abdullah has practiced family medicine for 30 years. He incorporated the business to help it run smoothly and to help save for his own retirement. But he says changes to the capital gains inclusion rate in last week's budget change the calculation.
Now there's even more incentive for people to say, okay, well, maybe it's time to close up the doors because the cost of running a business is more so than the benefit of being able to save for retirement.
If the budget passes, the capital gains inclusion rate would increase from half to 2/3 of personal profits over $250,000. It also applies to all gains earned by trusts and corporations, even medical practices.
Changing the taxation.
Which is a big deal because, again, these are doctors that we need. I'm sure you guys watching know people who don't have family doctors, or you don't have a family doctor yourself. So immigration levels are getting increased, which means we have more people needing doctors, but they can't get family physicians, which is the private practice. So what do? They go to emergency clinics, they go to walk-in clinics, they clog up the system. And this is because we can't get the family doctors that we need. And I understand we can, deal with their foreign credentials and get them in the system faster. But the point is, with these immigration levels, we are losing doctors on top of that. And now they're disincentivized to want to stay in Canada from this capital gains.
Rate and inclusion rate inside those capital gains is akin to an 8% retrograde taxation on those investments for our retirement.
Dr. Ross points out incorporating was allowed more than a decade ago in lieu of increased fees. Some compare it to a defined pension plan that physicians set up for themselves. But the Prime Minister says it's all about fairness.
We just don't think it's right that a student or an electrician or a teacher be paying taxes on 100% of their income, while others have the opportunities to use accountants and pay taxes on only 50%.
So this is where I'm going to need some accountants down below. But from what I understand, he's mixing up capital gains tax and earned income tax, which are two different types of tax. Capital gains is usually from, investment increases and a sale of an asset, something like that. He's comparing an electrician who's getting taxed to work to a doctor selling their business, but that's not the same. One, a doctor selling their business is selling a business, which is an asset, and it's something, and doctors don't get pension plans and all that stuff. But doctors still pay taxes on the income that they claim. So doctors are paying taxes already on their personal income. You know, we know he's dysnumeric, so he doesn't understand numbers. He certainly doesn't understand tax laws. And it's, unless I'm wrong, in which case accountants correct me below.
That income.
Still, some physicians say there should be exceptions.
You must make a carve out for people in professions, in businesses that actually serve the population of Canada. You need to give them a special arrangement.
The CMA.
This will destroy our healthcare system in Canada if we don't have the doctors to supply. Trudeau knows what he's doing. Freeland knows what she's doing. They want to leave a mess. That's it for today's video. Remember, I am a real estate agent in London, Ontario. Reach out to me in the link below if you do want to work with me in my team in Ontario or all across Canada. We can handpick somebody for your area. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.